Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the different games that I played in the month of January. Starting with the game that I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did, but I ended up loving it, Pokemon Scarlet. Like in other Pokemon games, you start off Pokemon Scarlet by creating your character and eventually getting your first Pokemon, a choice between 3 different Pokemon, a water type, a grass type, and a fire type. Once you get through the sort of prologue-y parts of this game, you're then sent off on your journey. In most Pokemon games, this is where you'd go through the world in a sort of linear fashion, fighting gym leaders, collecting gym badges, and eventually getting to the point of champion. However, in this game, you actually have 3 different paths you can take. So you have your normal path where you fight different gym leaders, collect gym badges, and eventually face the Elite Four and the champion. But you also have 2 other paths, one of which is you taking on the enemy team of the game, Team Star. This path is sort of normal too, since all of the other Pokemon games, well, all of the other main Pokemon games, have an enemy team that you have to take on. But the third path is a little more atypical in that in this path you collect different special herbs that are supposed to have health benefits to people and have a more potent effect on Pokemon. And in this path, you get these herbs by fighting these abnormal Pokemon, and these fights are basically like boss fights, and they're actually really fun. Another thing that really sets this game apart from other Pokemon games is that it's open world, and you're pretty much able to go wherever you want, whenever you want. There are some areas, of course, with extremely high-level Pokemon that you probably won't be ready for at the start, but you're welcome to try if you really want to. But bringing this back to the different paths of this game, each path has points of interest that you're meant to go to continue the story. So for example, the path where you fight the gym leaders, you can see on the map where each gym leader is. So you can, like I said, you can go wherever you want, and you can technically take on any gym leader at any point in time. But the same can be said about the other paths. You can take on whichever boss Pokemon you want to fight first, or in the case of Team Star, whichever Team Star leader you want to take on. And if you're really into this game or just like completing games in general, you're probably going to just do everything that you can do as far as the story is concerned. So you can do kind of whichever you want in whichever order you want. One thing I really enjoyed about this game was that there weren't any random encounters. So every Pokemon that you could fight or catch, you see on the overworld. In Pokemon Sword and Shield, there were Pokemon that you could see on the overworld, but there was also these encounters that you could get in the grass or in the water that you couldn't see. And there were some Pokemon I don't think would spawn on the overworld, so you'd have to encounter them randomly. But not in this game. You can see every single Pokemon that you can catch. So if there's a Pokemon you want to catch that you're not seeing, you're gonna have to do something to get it to spawn. At the start of the game, you are given the legendary on the box art of whichever game that you have, but you can't actually fight with them until way later down the line. You can, however, ride on them. And as you complete the path where you're fighting the Pokemon boss battles and getting the herbs, your legendary does gain different abilities that can help you traverse the world. And honestly, riding on the Pokemon, in my case, I had Koraidon because I played Pokemon Scarlet. It's actually really fun and it's convenient for traveling. Story-wise, I actually really enjoyed the story of this game. I enjoyed all the characters. Each story has its sort of protagonist, I guess you could call them. For the path where you fight gym leaders and take on the champion, you have Nemona. She's sort of the protagonist, though you also meet other characters in that route. For Team Star's story, you have the person that's actually hiring you to take on Team Star. I'm not going to get into that, but Cassiopeia. But you also have another major character who I feel like is also kind of the protagonist because he's in like every cutscene, the principal, who's in disguise. Again, I don't want to touch the story too much because I don't want to spoil anything. And for the herb story, you have Arvin, and he's pretty much the only character in that story. But yeah, I personally really enjoyed the story of this game, and like I said, I did like all the characters. Completing all the story paths opens up even more to the game, and completing that section of the game opens up even more to the game that I haven't even started yet, but there's actually a lot to do in this game, so you could be at it for a really long time. And the fact that it's open world, I feel like makes it take even longer because there's just so many areas to explore that you don't even have to explore. So I guess in that sense, it also could be a quick journey depending on how you look at it. I'm not really sure, as I don't play open world games really that often. But yeah, I loved this game so much. I had so much fun. I loved the story. I think my personal favorite story was probably Team Star's story because you get a little cutscene each time you fight one of the leaders, and you kind of learn more about how their team was formed, and you get more of their personalities. It's just a lot of fun. Now, this game does have some weird visual glitches, which, as sad as it is to say, is kind of what I've come to expect from Pokemon at this point, just strange glitches. But I never had any problems with the game crashing or anything like that, so even though there are some weird visual glitches glitches, like I said. It never really caused any actual issues while I was playing. In fact, some of them were kind of funny. I feel like glitches in games can either be really kind of silly or they can just be plain annoying. In this case, I think they're more silly than annoying. Another little critique I have, although I don't know if you'd consider this a critique or just like a nitpick, but sometimes when you encounter a Pokemon and you would just kind of want to run away because you accidentally ran into it, you might end up running right into another Pokemon that was right there, which I think is kind of dumb and annoying. I didn't like that because I feel like whenever that usually happens, you don't mean to run into the Pokemon to begin with, so just running into another Pokemon is just a waste of time and is irritating. So yeah, that part annoyed me a little bit, but like I said, that didn't ruin the game for me or anything. I guess on an even more subjective note, Pokemon design wise, I wasn't really a fan of most of the Pokemon in this game. I mean, there were some really cute Pokemon in this game that I really liked the designs of, like Fido. The starters have grown on me more and more. I didn't used to like them that much. I liked Quaxly a lot. I don't think Quaxly is very popular, but even Sprigatito, who was my least favorite of the three, has grown on me. I loved Fira Giraffe, or Fura, I don't know how you say that Pokemon's name, but the evolved form of Girafarig. That one is probably one of my favorite Pokemon in this game. But for the most part, there weren't a lot of Pokemon that I really liked design-wise, which is a little disappointing, but there were enough that I liked that I could put on my team, so I guess that's a good thing. And some designs did grow on me, like there's like a Grasshopper Pokemon that evolves. I liked it at first, but it actually really grew on me. I don't know. I definitely recommend this game if you like Pokemon, and if you don't like Pokemon, then I guess you probably shouldn't play this game because it's still a Pokemon game, like regardless of all the different features that it has. So another game that I started this month and actually finished this month, although I wouldn't say I finished it because it's a game that doesn't really have an ending, is Roguebook. So Roguebook is a roguelike deck building game where you basically fight different enemies and earn different cards as you progress through the game. You start off each playthrough by picking the 2 different characters you want to use through that run. So there are 4 different characters, 5 if you get the DLC. And each of these characters has different cards that they use, so they all have their own different play styles. And you can mix and match these different play styles by picking each character. So for example, there's Shara, who's sort of the tutorial character that you play with at the start of the game. Her playstyle is more direct. A lot of her cards just do damage, and she also has a lot of cards that sort of have her switch from the front to the back or from the back to the front, and etc. But then you also have a character like Cypher, who's a little bit more complex in that he has more cards than she does and therefore has more options to him. And one of the mechanics that makes him unique to other characters is that he has this rage meter. So whenever he takes damage, he gains rage. And once his rage meter is full, which it gets full at 25 points, his cards become more powerful and some of his cards gain different effects. And the other 3 characters, of course, have their own things that set them apart from other characters. But that's sort of where the fun part of this game comes in, because there are just so many different cards that you can use and just different combinations that you can create. But since this is a roguelike game, there is a lot of RNG in what cards you get. So if you want to do a specific thing that you did in other runs, you might not be able to do it because you might not get access to the cards that you want. So to progress in this game, there's a map, and this map has different tiles on it, and you fill out these tiles by using ink brushes that you have, but you also get ink bottles that you can use to fill out specific sections of the map, whereas ink brushes fill out the area around you. And uncovering areas of this map, you can find different treasures which give you passive abilities for your characters that affect you throughout the run. Vaults of Wisdom, which can give you different cards that you pay for with money. Encounters that you can find where you fight different enemies, which can reward you with gold, but will also reward you with an ink bottle or an ink brush depending on who you're fighting, or depending on whether or not it's a regular fight or an elite battle, which elite battles are more difficult. Or you can find health potions that you can use to heal your characters. You keep your health throughout each chapter, but when you fight the boss, you are fully healed at the end of the battle. So your main objective in this game is to get through 3 chapters and get to the final boss, who is on the 3rd chapter. There are a few different final bosses in this game. I've only seen 3 of them. There might only be 3, I'm not 100% sure, but each of them has different attacks and different abilities. They do different actions during their battle. Like for example, one of them dissolves your cards, which basically means that it permanently gets rid of your cards, but another one of them, it doesn't do anything directly to you, but it does make your cards cost an extra energy. Stuff like that. One thing that made this game more addicting, for me at least, was that there was an upgrade system. So for each playthrough, you would earn pages, and these pages could be used to upgrade your characters. And these are permanent upgrades that affect your future runs. And they can also be disabled, so if you want a more challenging run, you could disable the upgrades that you've already unlocked. But personally, I really liked that aspect of this game. Each character also has a progress bar that levels up the more you play them, and they actually earn experience during each of your playthroughs. And leveling them up earns more cards that they can use during future runs when you use them. But it was these aspects that made the game a lot more fun, and it was nice to have a goal to work towards rather than just getting to the final boss, beating it, and then that being the end. And for me, that's how I like roguelikes, to have goals. Not that I've played a roguelike that didn't have any kind of goal, but it's still nice to have something to work towards. There were a couple of hiccups for me in this game though. So this game has some weird glitches where the game would kind of break almost. So one glitch that I got hit with a couple of times that actually made me have to restart the game was I would get into a battle and then I'd leave the battle, or I'd win. But when I got out, for some reason I couldn't move my characters and I was never able to move them. So I had to restart the game because you have to be able to move to, you know, progress. So that was a little annoying. For the most part, it didn't really hinder the gameplay or anything. Well, okay, it did, but it was just annoying more than anything. This game also had some slowdown issues for me. There were times where, I guess because there was so much happening, even though it didn't seem like there was much happening, the game would just kind of lag and it would take a second for my characters to perform an action and for things to happen. Still, I do definitely recommend this game if you like deck building roguelikes. I've only played, this is probably my second one. Still, I do recommend this game if you like deck building roguelikes. I've only played one other one other than Roguebook, and that was Monster Slayers, which I also really liked. But I had a ton of fun with this game. I played it for maybe a week and I kind of stopped because, I mean, there are goals to work towards. I was honestly going to try to go for the Platinum Trophy, but it seems grindy and I don't really like grinding too much in games. I don't want to suck the fun out of this game, so I just stopped where I stopped. But I had a lot of fun and this game is super addicting, so I definitely recommend it. I also bought the DLC, the 5th DLC character, and he's actually probably my favorite character because to me, he's the most interesting. Also, I should probably mention that I did play this on the PS4. I bought it when it was on sale, actually. I think it was 50% off. So if you want to wait for a sale to get this game, I think that's honestly what I would do. I feel bad for saying that though, because I don't want to stiff these creators, but that's what I did. I'm just being honest. But other than those games that I actually finished, games that I have still been playing, the only thing I've been playing is pretty much Skullgirls Mobile, because I was playing Pokemon Shuffle, but I just got so bored of it. Like, I think I'm over Pokemon Shuffle at this point. But with Skullgirls Mobile, I kind of got into Rift battles a little bit more, and I actually really want to build a good defense. And I've kind of gotten there with my big band, but I'm still working on it. I only have one node that's like okay defense-wise, and even then it's not super powerful. But yeah, I've just been really getting into Skullgirls Mobile again. But that's pretty much it for all I played this month, so I'll see you guys again in February.